All right, what's up guys and welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since I did an update on this. Last time I did a video, we were out in Johnson Valley doing some wheeling, so it's time to get back on this thing. I've made a bit of progress since the last time I was filming, so I'll get you guys caught up and we'll go from there. So last video, I think I was pretty much just mocking everything up as far as like the wheelbase and shocks and trying to figure all that out. So at this point, I pretty much got it a roller. All the link mounts are just tacked on there, shock mounts just tacked on. I'm gonna go and finish weld those today. The rear of this car, he wanted to set up to be able to do rear steer. Eventually, I don't know when he's gonna do it, but I set the link mounts inboard enough that it's pretty much matching the front. So if there's enough room to clear the tire on the front links, then there should be on the rear links when he does go to do rear steer. So starting off with the lower links, I ended up being able to get 10 degrees of lower triangulation. These axles are pretty narrow, so that was pretty much the only spot I could mount it. On this side, back there, leaving enough room for the carrier bearing and everything is important. I was able to get 15 degrees of triangulation on the upper links. I had to build kind of a unique little mount for hanging over the diff to get the link mount center line of the axle. So I'm gonna end up building a tab or some kind of bracket that bolts in or mounts into this bolt and ties in to this mount to give it kind of frontward support on that. Shock mounts I'm going to end up boxing in like this side with just a little gusset right here. Same thing with this on this side. Upper shock mounts I did kind of like a boxed in little thing. I was gonna do a tube across and do the shock mount into that, but I came up with this idea and I think I like it a little better. So I did an 1.5 inch tube for right here. That should be enough room to get the motor forward and out. So next thing I gotta add to the front is a lacing tube that goes up from here to about center line. And then probably here back down to this point. And then I think I'm gonna see how it looks, but I'm gonna do a tube up from here, kind of come up and then bend into this to kind of give it the look of like a shock hoop right here. I think that might look kind of cool, so I'm gonna play around with that. Rear links, I ended up keeping everything in as far inboard as I could. Did, again, 10 degrees on the lowers and 15 degrees on the uppers. As far as the actual link geometry and everything, whenever he does swap a rear steer axle into this or cut this one down and do knuckles on it, he should be okay. So rear shock mounts, I tried to get a little creative and do something a little different. I was thinking I needed to do either a plate or a tube structure up to here. But I might just leave it like that because that's plenty strong. And then I'm gonna do some lacing tubes back down into the chassis rails down here. So it's time to get to work on this thing, but first things first. Instagram and social media is super cool for advertising and business and everything, but it is a bad habit. If it takes me a while to respond to you guys, then just bear with me. I'm trying to get some work done. So this is kind of what I'm thinking for the front end shock hoop thing. I think this tube coming up being bent, given the look of like a shock hoop. The shock's mounted right in the middle right there, so I think that'll look kind of cool. So let's make that happen. Oh, sweet. Hopefully this works. Heck yeah. I like that. That's pretty cool. It gives it that like hoop look. And then other lacing tubes in there. I think that'll look good. All right, this is by far my favorite, well, I'd say second favorite part of doing a build is seeing it on the ground for the first time. So I went ahead and welded out the upper shock mounts and added the tube in here like I talked about, and then the rest of the lacing to do the front end. Now I've just got to weld the front link mounts, the front shock mounts on the axle, and finish doing the bracket on that side tying into the diff. Next thing will be getting some seats mounted in here. I'm just gonna do the center console super simple in this one. He's not paying for anything fancy, so I'm just gonna do like a tube structure, like skeleton, and then sheet metal panels, aluminum panels for the outside. And then I'll get the radiator mocked up in the rear, get mounts made for that, mount the fuel cell, and then he does want a little cargo rack back here, so I'll get that done. I'm gonna cut out this rear tube right here and right here, and then do either a flap down tailgate or swing open sideways. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but do something along those lines. All right, trying to keep the momentum up on this thing. Got a few more things knocked out. I went ahead and mounted the battery up front. There's not a whole lot of room in the back, so I just put it up front. Still enough room, I gotta pull this off, but still enough room to pull the motor forward and up. Mounted the power steering reservoir up here, just simple little mount. This clears the hood bulges up, so this clears the hood just barely, so, and that's still way higher than the pump down there, so that should be good. Mounted the brake, master cylinder, and booster right here. I'm gonna build a pedal that kind of comes down and kicks over to the side, so the pedal sits over here. Orbital mount just boxed in this side, and then the console is gonna come up and butt up against this side. Lines are gonna be plumbed to where they go forward that way. All closed in by the console on that side, and then just boxed in on this side, and I'll leave the bottom open so you can unbolt and drop the orbital out the bottom. Seats, I had the customer come over the other day, and the seats, I just put little mock-up tabs in the front. The rear's not tabbed or anything. Had him sit in the seat, figure out where his pedals are gonna be, where the steering column's gonna go. And we decided we're gonna go up and back, and then straighten out the back of the seat a little bit, bring it not so laid back. And then he told me he's gonna want the driver's seat on sliders because his wife every once in a while drives the car. So ordered some sliders, so we'll get that all done. And then the floor is gonna be flat at this height, but then right where your heels are gonna sit, the floor is gonna be recessed for your heel to sit down in the floor up against the pedals. The radiator in the back, I went ahead and offset it to the driver's side so that whenever, if he ever does take out the passenger seat, so from the driver's seat with the radiator offset to the driver's side, you have great visibility at that right rear tire. Fuel cell, just simple little cradle. I'm gonna do some tabs and some straps that just go over, nothing crazy. Back here, I'm gonna build him a little cargo rack basket thing that'll, he'll be able to store whatever he wants back here. And then like I talked about, I was gonna cut out the rear tailgate. He was over here the other day and we were talking about it, and I think we came up with a pretty good idea. The customer has had this car for like 30 years and changed it a bunch over the years, and really wanted to keep the hood, grill, and then he talked about keeping the tailgate, but I was like, the tailgate's super wide on that car and we're gonna narrow the rear of this chassis, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to make the rear tailgate work or not, but I went ahead while he was here the other day and pulled it off, and we held it up, and I think it's actually gonna work out pretty cool. So the rear dimensions of this chassis just worked out absolutely perfect. And if I cut out this rear tube right here and right here, do some hinges on this side, and then do the factory latch on this side, have the tailgate swing open to the side. I think that's gonna look super cool. And then whenever we go ahead and do the sheet metal around the corner, we'll kind of tie it in and come down to this corner and kind of make it look like the FJ. So far, we're just plugging away at this thing. We're getting there slowly but surely. Today is April 5th, so we still got till mid-June. So we've got, say, like 2.5 months left on this. So I'm feeling pretty good about the timeline. The easiest way for me to work on this thing and do videos at the same time is just do the work and then go back and film just kind of updates about what we did and how we did it and everything. So let me know in the comments what you guys want to see specifically. If you want me to go in depth on anything, say why I did it or any of that kind of stuff, let me know so I know what to specifically cover. And other than that, I'll just keep showing updates of what we're doing and keep the time lapses down to a minimum. I feel like that just makes the video super long and it's kind of boring. You don't really get what I'm doing or anything. It's just boring video. So again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Keep it classy, and I'll see you guys next week.